Welcome to Personal Finance Lab. Before I get started, can you see my screen, just to be sure?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Welcome. I'm going to walk you through everything you need to know as a teacher, and I'll even give you some information that will help your students get started as well. So before we get started, can you let me know a little bit about your classes so I kind of have an idea of where we're coming from?
I'm teaching two classes for business and finance. I have one class where I teach, it's called our business and finance class, and I spend an entire semester on personal finance. And then our second semester is like kind of intro to business stuff. And then the other class I teach is an advanced business class where we go into global business sort of stuff, more economics, and it's like the capstone class, so it's kind of the advanced version. We're not focusing on personal finance, but more like econ and stock market, that kind of stuff.
Okay, so you're kind of running the whole gamut. It's good. So you'll be able to take advantage of pretty much everything we have to offer.
Right, that's great.
So did you get the confirmation email with your teacher login?
Yes, I did.
Okay, great. So then I'll skip that part. So now that you have your login, the first step is, of course, logging in. The login process is the same for students and teachers. You just have some more stuff available when you log as a teacher.
Okay.
When you log in for the first time, you're going to be taken to a class creation page. I have a class already, so I'm not taking there. Give me 1 second. Say it's going a little slow right now. Here we go. Okay, so this is what's called the admin dashboard. I'll get back to this once we have a class set up, but your first step when you log in, you're going to be taken to what's called the class creation page. The class, as we call it, is the stock market game portion of the challenge. So this would be the rules that you would set for your students' portfolios in the stock market game. So I'll go through what the rules are so you understand how they work, and your classes are probably going to be set up slightly differently. So
right.
Let me zoom in a little bit here so you can see the fields better. So first, you need to give it a name. It just needs to be something unique in the system. And second, a description. And basically, when your students come in to create their logins, they're going to see this name and description so they know when they're in the right class. Estimated number of participants, this doesn't affect anything. We use this in our marketing where we say X number of students have used the site each year. But if it's more or less, it doesn't matter. Your contest is public or private. It's almost impossible for a student to get to your class by mistake, but it is kind of common for students to get mixed up between two classes from the same school. So what you can do is have a private contest, which means when your students come in to register for the first time, they need to enter a password you give them. Generally speaking, I say leave your classes public, and then if it becomes a problem, you can make them private later. Just because it removes one more thing students can get stuck on, basically. And then you're going to pick out the rules for your class contest. So what currency are you going to denominate the portfolios in? How much cash you want to give them to start with. Most high school classes hover around $100,000. The registration dates is where your students can come in and create their login for the first time. Start date is the first time they can register, the end date's the last day. Most teachers leave the registration open for the full class, but I do know a few teachers that want to have the registration end before trading begins. That's especially important if you want to do like a bigger challenge covering more of the school. Trading dates. Your students can log in before the trading starts. They can do their assignments and stuff, but they can't actually start building their portfolio. Same with the trading end date. After the trading ends at 6 o'clock that evening, we're going to freeze the students' portfolios. So they can log in, they can see what things were when the market's closed, but they won't be able to place any more trades or do anything else. They can still, again, if you use the assignments, which I'm going to go through in a minute, they will still be able to read articles, take quizzes, watch videos. They just can't do anything with their portfolio. Time zone. This is brand new as of today, actually. So the time zone you can set to match your actual specific time. And what that's going to do is all the timestamps through the site, like when we do a timestamp of like when a student made a trade, it'll be in your time zone.
Okay, and now when the students are going to buy a stock outside of like the trading time in New York, like how does your site handle that?
Students can place
Like, are they
orders.
still allowed to do trades?
They can place orders
Like,
24
for
hours a
example,
day. So,
okay.
but what happens is when the market is closed, their orders won't actually execute until the market opens the next day.
Okay.
Next, some basic rules on what your students can and can't do. Can they short sell? Can they day trade? Can they buy on margin? If they do buy on margin, they will be charged interest on any loans they take out. Do you as the teacher want to be in the class rankings? So some teachers like to set up their portfolio as kind of a benchmark. Some people want their teacher account just gone completely. You can trade either way. It's just, do you want to be in there with the students? Trade notes. I'll show you a little more detail on this later when I show trading, but basically every time a student goes to make a trade, they're asked to write a sentence or two explaining their rationale. So relating this back to class ideas, relating this back to what else is going on in their portfolio. So we recommend most teachers use the trading notes feature. Even if you turn it off, students can still make notes if they want to. It's just if you require it, they can't actually place the trade until they write something. Next, minimum prices for buying and shorting. Basically, you're going to want to outlaw the penny stocks. And the last two here, make all portfolios public. If portfolios are public, the students will be able to see each other's trades and open positions. If they're not public, then they won't. You can see them either way, it's just do you want your students to see each other's stuff. And class forums. This is another new feature we just added in the last few weeks. Class forums will let your students post messages to each other and reply to messages through the platform. Some teachers didn't want that for their classes, so we gave the ability to turn it on or off. And then getting down here, you're basically choosing the specifics of what your students can trade. So equities is stocks and ETFs, options, mutual funds, bonds, futures, future options, and spots. Your more advanced class is going to be using more security types. Most high school classes stick to the stocks, ETFs, or stocks, mutual funds, and bonds. And then for each of these security types, you can also see you can set the commissions for them. So it's going to be a per trade, per share, as a percent of the total trade, what that commission amount is going to be. And this last one here, position limit, this is a diversification rule. So a 25% position limit says students need to invest in at least 4 stocks to use up all their cash. They can't put more than a quarter of their portfolio in one position. When we get down here, the exchanges, there's over 30 countries available. So in your international, the class of the more international folks in particular, you're going to want to turn on more of these international exchanges. The more basic class can stick just to US. The only thing to keep in mind is that all the US stuff we have trades at real-time bid-ask prices. Most of our international ones trade at either 15-minute delayed or end-of-day data, which means that if students can day trade, they can kind of take advantage of the time delays. So I would recommend turning off day trading if you're using a lot of the international exchanges.
Okay.
That's the basics. If you use any of the futures markets, you're going to get a notification that the CME group will get your contact information, basically, because they just want to verify the futures data is being used for academic purposes. And the last one's down here, the advanced rules. This is where you can configure things like how much interest are your students earning on cash, how much are they charged on loans, are you going to put a cap on how many trades they can make. For the more advanced students, you can even put rankings by Sharpe ratio. Most teachers don't change any of these advanced rules, but you have the ability to do so. Pretty much everything you see here can also be changed after your class starts. So one of the common things would be a teacher would create their class allowing just equities, and then as the class goes on, they can turn on mutual funds and bonds. But that means that you also don't have to worry too much about making a mistake when you're setting up your class. So once you have the rules looking about what you want them to be, you'll click Create. Oh, sorry, I forgot about that. And this link here this is what you need to give your students to get them registered into your class. If I pull up my window here, you can see that, and I just got a confirmation email as well, so you'll have confirmation your class was created. Basically, students need to pick a username and password, a first name, last name, so you know who they are. If you have younger students who are under 16, they can't enter an email address or their last name. They can just put the first letter of their last name. And the email address is really just used for password resets.
Okay, on that information for the students, those fields for the name, are they required? Like, can I just have the student put their first initial for the last name?
Yep, they can do that.
Okay, great.
Basically, it's just for your reference, so you know who each student is.
Okay. Yes. Got it. So
once the stock game part is set up, your students can register right away and start trading, but the 95% of teachers add in the learning modules first. So if you go to administration at the top of the page here, this is all of your teacher tools can be found here. All the learning modules are found in what's called the assignments.
Okay.
So we're going to assignments, and then first step is create a new assignment. I'm going to call this a week 1 assignment. And most teachers, again, will break up their assignments week by week. And you can choose the start dates and due dates for all of your assignments one by one as you like. There are some teachers too that will have one big assignment lasting the whole class, and you can even overlap your assignments. So you can have a week by week, but then an extra credit one that lasts the whole semester, however you want to set it up. So the tasks that we have here, they're broken up by subject, and there's 4 main types of tasks to choose from. The first one is articles. So this article here, what is a stock? If you include an article...
I'm sorry to interrupt you. How did you get to this from where we were at in the assignment? So this is just underneath where the assignment section is?
Yeah, so you go to administration, you click assignments, and then
so after you type that in, you just scroll down?
Yeah, you scroll down.
Okay, so all of them, they'll just be like a bunch of assignments on this page to choose from? Is that how that works?
Yeah, we have them broken up by subject so you can hide the ones you don't want to see, because there's like 300 on this page.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
And once you do it for the first time, it gets easier because it's not in here yet, but in the next 2 weeks we're adding an ability to duplicate assignments, so if you have more than one class, it'll make it pretty easy.
Right.
So the tasks you can choose from, first kind, reading articles. The articles aren't long. They're usually between 1,000 and 2,000 words. We write them at about an 8th grade reading level, so most students won't have too much of a problem with them. We use lots of images. We use lots of infographics. Some of them even have some videos embedded into it that explains this same concept. And all of them end with a pop quiz. So these pop quizzes, they're between 3 and 5 questions, and basically it'll save their grades, but you can also choose whether to save it forever or if students can retry it.
Okay.
So this checkbox right here, allow retries. If you check this one, students can keep taking as many times as they want to try to get a higher score. If you leave it unchecked, it's just going to save their grade from the first attempt.
Right.
So the next type of assignments are watch videos. These videos are pretty straightforward tutorials on how students can actually use the site. How do they build their portfolio? What do all the different pages do? The next type of activities are under our personal finance ones. They're just called activity. And these activities utilize interactive personal finance calculators, and students are given a scenario that they need to solve. So this one, for example, is our millionaire calculator, where they can use these sliders and enter different settings to try to figure out how they can save up to be a millionaire by the time they get 65. So their target age, how much can they invest now, how much per month, etc. And then the quizzes associated with this one gives them a bunch of scenarios that they need to use that calculator to solve. And the final type is the final type is making basic trades. So buy 3 stocks this week, make 2 total trades, that kind of thing. You can even have them use different specific order types so you can make sure they understand what they are. So as you can see on this page, there's a lot here, but we have this broken up in a pretty straightforward way. Once you look at it, it makes a lot more sense. So these groups that we have here mostly are the class subject they'll be focusing on. So this first block here, called Investing Fundamentals, these are 10 items that we basically recommend as the first assignment for any class that uses Personal Finance Lab. The reason for that is because these tasks basically get students up to speed on what it means to have a portfolio, what is a stock, and some of the tutorials on how to actually use the site. So before they can really start trading, these are the things they really need to know.
Right.
The next block here of 15 items, this is usually the second assignment, and it's the same idea. It goes in a little bit more detail, what is Wall Street, what is an ETF, what is a mutual fund, that kind of thing. But after these first 2 blocks, then it kind of becomes more of a free-for-all. What kind of class are you teaching? So in the personal finance classes, there's a lot here. You'll just check off the ones that would line up with what you're talking about in class this week. You can do them in any order. There's no restrictions. You can see this column here called Standards. We do align all of our content to both state and national standards for personal finance, economics, business topics, and we align it to a lot of Sure.
This is because that was some confusion when I was getting this all set up with our district, because they were concerned that everything was aligned with Canadian standards. Now, is this for Canada or for the United States?
No, the United States. I'm actually in Chicago. Okay. Just the development and support team is up in Canada, but the president and we're in the United States.
Okay, got it.
So, so the standards listing here, this is specific to the Jumpstart national standards, what we have listed here. We have another page that lists the way it maps to different states and different national sets of standards. What you're in California?
Okay. Yes, I am.
I don't think California publishes their own state standards for personal finance, do they?
They don't. It's weird. They have like the business and finance under CPE, and it's mostly geared for business stuff, but the personal finance is kind of weird because I think it's mixed in with some career readiness and that kind of stuff. So I don't think they have one for personal finance.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time reading all of the standards for every state. So I remember California was a little bit more confusing than most. But
yeah, it is. About personal finance in particular, because they have under CPE, like there's the business and finance umbrella, which we incorporate a lot of personal finance stuff, like to get them to understand the business finance. We always start with the personal, and the standards are weird for that.
But we do keep that. We basically knew that while we were starting to build this, and that's why if you're in the personal finance sets and you're doing a personal finance class, you're free to borrow lessons from the accounting sets, from the economics sets, and we encourage that. And most teachers usually will grab 1 or 2 lessons from another subject.
Right.
But either way, as you like, you can grab whatever you like as often or as long as you want. We don't want to make another set of standards for people to try to follow.
I do have a question on these activities and like all of these line items basically. Is there anywhere on the site that indicates like the amount of time spent on, like, say for example, is this a 60-minute activity? Is it a 20-minute activity? You know what I'm saying? As far as lesson planning, like when I'm sitting down for the week, like, oh, what are we going to do? And then trying to figure out how many things I can fit in for that week based on, like, do you have that?
I don't have that, but I can tell you that we designed it so all of these take between 10 and 15 minutes.
Oh, wow.
So we really don't have that much that's supposed to be... I mean, there's a couple exceptions that I'll point out, but they're really not designed to... each individual task isn't supposed to take that long.
Okay. So these aren't like, the whole session lessons. These are just like little bits and pieces.
Yeah, I mean... For budgeting, for example, we have an article on budgeting, an article on saving and spending plans. We have a few talking specifically about budgeting and saving strategies. So you would grab 3 or 4 of those as part of the budgeting lesson, basically depending on what you want to talk about in class.
Okay.
So there are a couple exceptions that I'll talk about, but that's the general case.
Right.
Personal finance and economics, it's pretty straightforward for the economics ones too. There's a lot here, and you just grab as you like. The next one, career readiness. Career readiness, we have 5 specific articles that talk about career readiness. We're adding a few more. But the best part for career readiness is at the top of the page here, we actually have what's called the Career Center. And the Career Center has information about certifications that students would need if they wanted to go into like a career in accounting or finance. But it also has this job and internship search, where this has real jobs and internships that we pull from a variety of sources. We have had some students actually get summer internships through this, but in most cases it's being used as a way for students to start building their career plan. So find your dream job, what are the requirements for that job, and then start working backwards. And it works well because these are real jobs with real requirements, so it's not like a pre-built thing.
Right.
Let's go back to where I was. Career readiness, accounting, management, and marketing. We group these business topics together because there's a lot of cross-flow between them. Depending on different states mix these differently. So I don't remember off the top of my head the California standards for the CTE, but I do remember I was looking at Texas last, and Texas blended the accounting and management a lot for their finance classes. So a lot of what you'd be talking about in a finance class is you'd be borrowing heavily from a couple of these different CTE course blocks that we have: the accounting, management, and marketing. Altogether, there's a little over 50 topics to choose from here. Investing 101. This is one of those exceptions where it's going to take more than the 20 minutes, because instead of it being one article or one topic with one quiz, Investing 101 groups things in similar blocks, and then we call them chapters. So, for example, this Investing 101 Chapter 1, this one has 12 concepts that it discusses, one after another, and at the end of it, there's a resources page, and then we have an exam at the end. So instead of a 3 to 5 question quiz, these are 10 question quizzes, and it covers everything that came before in the chapter.
And how long would a student be working on something like this?
This one would take probably an hour on average for each chapter.
Okay.
Some are shorter, some are longer. So like the first one, if your students have already gone through those introductory lessons at the very beginning, they're going to be able to go through this Chapter 1 pretty quickly because it covers a lot of the same material. The other ones talking about fundamental and technical analysis, those are going to take a lot longer because there's a lot of graphs that it talks about. There's a lot of income statements, balance sheets, that kind of thing that it works through. But
okay.
I would say the first 4 or 5 chapters go fairly quickly, so students can be done with those in 45 minutes to an hour. The next ones, the topics themselves, we made them a little bit shorter, but the concepts that they're talking about is a little bit more complicated.
Okay.
Here, basic trades, I already mentioned those a little bit, where, make these kind of the trades to build your portfolio. Towards the end here, we have a couple more new ones. So this section here we call mathematics. The first article here, percents, fractions, and ratios. It's pretty straightforward, and it's really targeting more middle school students, but these next ones using spreadsheets, these can take a little bit longer because these talk about how students can actually use their portfolio data with a spreadsheet program. So doing different kinds of calculations, importing data, things like that. And these often include tutorial videos too that actually we recorded ourselves doing this, and so the video itself here is 8 minutes, so of course this is going to take a lot longer than the average article if they're going to actually try doing this.
Right.
And this last one here is special too. This is called an assessment. So if you want to add an assessment to your assignment, what this would do is it would grab 2 questions from every single task that's included in this assignment, and then it's going to create one master quiz for that for your entire assignment. So basically this would be an assessment covering everything else that was in this assignment.
Everything that you chose for your course.
Yeah.
For that class.
Oh, for this single assignment. So it would look at what I just created here. So
we're just creating one assignment right now?
Yeah, this is all just one assignment. So what we're calling assignment, this is what I call the week 1 assignment. I give this my start date and due date.
Okay. I get it.
Yeah, and then you can create as many of those as you want, and you can add an assessment with each one.
Okay.
So the first time you create your assignment, it might be might take a little bit of getting used to, but once you've done it once, it's pretty straightforward.
Right.
So either way, I had the assignment the way I like it. I click create. I can create another assignment right away, or just go straight to my dashboard and I can see what it looks like. Once your assignment's created, you can also edit your assignment, add and remove tasks as you like. And then you have 2 teacher reports to refer to as well. The first one's called the progress report. Let me see, yeah, here it is. The first one here is called the progress report. This is going to list all the students in your class and how much they've done for this assignment, so you can see who's done what. And the second one's called the grade book. So the grade book is going to show you all the grades the students got on all their quizzes.
Okay.
So
now, how it lists it in the grade book, will it be in order alphabetical by last name?
I believe so. Let me double check here. I think it is, but you can also export these reports too, and most teachers use the exports when they're actually, entering into their own system. So you can, take your spreadsheet and use it as you like.
Okay.
So that's all you really need to do to set it up for your class. It sounded long while I was explaining it, but once you've done it once or twice, this whole process takes about 5 or 6 minutes. It shouldn't take you too long. When your student logs in for the first time, this is what they're going to see. This is what's called the dashboard. At the top of the page here, they see their portfolio value. The number they care most about is their current ranking. And then since they don't have anything in their portfolio right now, we're giving them this list of stocks that are most commonly traded by other students on Personal Finance Lab. So this is what we use to help try to give them some trading ideas to get started. The assignment that you get is on the right side of the page here, so they can just click these to start working on the assignment as you task them.
Okay.
The reports you have are in real time, so if I come here and I watch this video, you can see it already ticked up that I completed that, and if I go to my teacher report, it's going to show that too. So you'll have instant feedback for everything.
Okay.
If I switch to a class where I've already started making some trades, you can see a little bit more of what a fuller portfolio looks like. So I have some stocks in my portfolio here. This is what we call the list view, where it's just kind of a list of all my holdings. And they can get some more information depending on what they need. What industry is this considered, 52-week highs and lows, earnings per share, etc. The industry is important because they also have pie charts for their portfolio showing their breakdown by symbol, by the asset class, is it cash or stocks, the industries, and how big are the companies I'm investing in. At the bottom of the table here, you can see their market values, their profit and loss on their holdings, that kind of thing. But then they can also see these as charts. And so the chart views are more popular with the students because it gives them a pretty visual way to see how they're doing. So the red ones, I'm losing money. The green ones, I'm making money. It makes it pretty clear to see where I stand. So 1-day chart is, for the last trading day. 30-day chart is for the last month, and year charts for the last year. Again, students can export this if they want to. So the export button will download a spreadsheet with that data. If your school uses Google Classroom, then they can export it straight to their Google Drive. If you look at the below the line here is the portfolio value chart too. So we give them an automatic chart showing how their portfolio is doing for the duration of the challenge, and they can compare their performance against any one of these benchmarks. And again, they can export their historical portfolio values if you want them to do things like calculate your daily percentage return and things like that. Over on this side of the page here, you can also see this what's called the announcements box. You, as the teacher, have the ability to post announcements for your students as well. You would do that under administration at the top of the page here, and it's called post a message. This supports basically any HTML content you want to give it, which means that you can also embed YouTube videos, you can post images, basically anything you want. For students to actually start making trades, that is what the Make a Trade menu is up here. And again, it's really straightforward. If a student doesn't know the ticker symbol of the company they want to trade, they can also just start typing its name, and we'll give them a list of symbols that match. We load the company logo so they know they're looking at the right one. The pretty detailed quote. As soon as they enter a quantity, we're going to give them an estimated cost, and then they can use a few different order types in order to, limit orders, stop orders, etc. Once they preview, this is where they're going to have to enter their trading notes. Why do they think this is a good idea? And confirm to place the order. So you asked what happens when a student places an order when the markets are closed. Well, they are right now. Basically, that goes to one of our portfolio pages. It won't be in my portfolio yet, but I will be able to see it in my order history. In my order history page, I can see this order is pending, so I have the opportunity to cancel it or do anything I want with it before the market opens tomorrow. The other pages they have available, under Dashboard here, they can change their password, and they have access to those forums where they can post messages to everybody else in the challenge. Under My Portfolio, open positions is their current holdings. I don't have any right now. Closed positions, this is an estimate of the profit or loss they've taken on the positions they bought and then later sold. So for Caterpillar here, I lost $135, that kind of thing. My rankings, again, this is, we do Google Analytics so we can see where students are going, and this is the most popular page on the site. Students love seeing how they're doing compared to everybody else on the site, and this updates live throughout the day. So the markets are going to be closed for the afternoon for you, but your students will be checking this in the morning to see how they're moving around. Transaction history, these are all my trades that went through. In the transaction history, students can also see all the dividends they received, all the splits that have happened in their portfolio. We account for all that stuff. And order history, I already said, this would be their trades plus any orders they placed that haven't gone through yet they can change there. The account balances is probably the most boring page on the site. Students don't like coming here because it's really just some extra data about all their accounts. But there's also some important information here, like how many commissions have they paid out, how many dividends have they received in total, that kind of thing. Trade notes will let them review all of the notes they've placed for each of their trades. They can add more notes to the same trade later, so if they want to add some perspective while they're getting ready for their class reports at the end of the semester or something, but they can't edit or delete any notes. So they can't come in and with retrospect and change their mind. And their big assignments page is a bigger version of that little thing that was on the right side of the page. This one, lists everything they're expected to do, but it also will show the grades they got for their quizzes, if they're allowed to retry it for a higher score, that kind of thing. The Learning Center here, even if you don't require your students to do something, they can still find all those articles and videos and things in the Learning Center. So if they're curious, they can look for it and find it. We also try to make this.
And these are like the same actual modules that are in the assignment section, but they're just free for them to poke around and look at.
Exactly.
Okay.
We try to make it so there's something new to find here every day. So every time they come to the page, it's going to show them a different selection of articles. So instead of pricing strategies being the featured one, it's comparative economic systems. There's business, personal finance, economic stuff. We kind of break it down for them by subject. tutorial videos, same thing as the Learning Center. Even if you don't require your students to watch some tutorial videos, they can still find them here.
Okay.
So we do make that available at any time.
Now, a question that's kind of on a side topic, and I don't know if you even know this, but am I the only teacher that can use this stuff? Like, are there, or like, I don't know, like how the purchasing went, like, were we approved for like so many logins, or like so many teachers, or like, is it for our school, for the, you know what I mean? Like, there's 2 other teachers that are interested in possibly using this, and I don't know if they can or not. Because we got this for me, mostly.
You have a license for your school. I think it's for 100 students per year.
Okay.
It does not matter how many teachers are using it.
Okay, got it. So if they needed a different login, I would just email you or someone else about another.
I would do it. I would set up their logins and just associate them with your account. And yeah, we encourage more teachers to use it. The more the better.
Right. So we got it for 100 or 150 students.
I believe yours is 100. Let me check.
And this is a subscription that we'll be paying every year, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm checking your account here, and yeah, you're for 100 students. If you want, we can bump that up to 250 as the next level up. That would be I think another 995 per year, but it gets you 150 more students.
Right.
So.
Okay, got it. So I'm just making notes. So it's an extra $100 or $1,000 to add 150 more students.
Yes. And then I don't know how big your school is, or if there's other schools in your district, but the biggest license level, it's $4,000 for up to 1,000 students. So that, it gets a lot cheaper the more you have, basically.
Okay. Perfect.
So for your students, the other stuff they have available for research is under the quotes tool here. And there's quite a lot for them here. So this is what we call the detailed quote. It has a bunch of price information. It has charts that they can change the date range with pretty easily. It has news stories that have mentioned this stock recently, so they get an idea of why the price is moving up or down. Other stuff they've available, charts. This is a more interactive chart that they can play around with more variables, and they can even compare more symbols to each other. Option chains, if any students are doing options, they can play with them. Company news, again, that's that news I showed you earlier. Key ratios, this is a lot more important for an accounting class. Revenue, management efficacy is a fun one to try to figure out what that means. I can never quite figure it out. Price comparisons, price of sales, etc. Share performance is more important in finance class. It has a lot of moving averages and prices moving over time. I also like this one to see the institutional trades versus insider trades. Earnings statements, share performance. Financial statements is one of the most important ones. Students can find the income statements, balance sheets, and cash flow statements for every U.S. company going back 5 years, and they can see this annually or quarterly. All SEC filings for every company are in here as well, so they don't have to go to eight other websites to find them. 10Ks and everything else is all available. Corporate actions, so earnings, splits, dividends are all tracked here. Trades is kind of a delayed level 2 quote where they can see what trades have been going on for the last day. And that's more for a college finance class, but yeah, might have some students who are interested. Price history is another one of the most important ones where students can get the price history for any stock going all the way back to the IPO. And they can export this as well, so they can play around with this in Excel if they want. Analyst ratings, I like this one, especially for younger students, to kind of get an idea of what is Wall Street saying against this. So does Wall Street agree with my intuition? And company profile, it just tells a little bit about this company. So if a student just finds this using a stock screener, which is also available in here, they can get a little bit more information about what this company is and what they do. There's several other tools in here as well. Market summaries, market movers is a nice one to get trading ideas. There's a sector search tool, and the sector search tool will show them all the different sectors of the economy and all the biggest companies in each sector. So we have an article talking about that specifically in the assignments, about building a diversified portfolio, that kind of thing. But that's what it looks like for your student. And now we're going to jump into what it is for the teacher. So let me jump into this one that I set up. Your teacher tools, as I said before, are up here under administration. So I'll go through what all these tools are. First one, create a challenge. If you want to create a second class, you can do that here. Edit challenge, you can edit the rules of the classes you already have set up. Manage teams is a brand new feature we just launched this week. So with teams, you can actually group your students into groups of 3 or 4, however many you want. And by putting your students into teams, it adds another set of what's called the team rankings, where they can see how they're doing as a team compared to everybody else. Each student will still have their own portfolio, but all of their holdings and all of their cash balances and everything will also be grouped into that team portfolio. And the ranking is going to be based on the average portfolio value of the team. Basically, that means that you can have unequal teams and it'll still balance out, and you'll still be able to see what each student is doing individually. So if you want to use teams, you would come here. First up, add new team. You just give it a team name. And then every student in your class is going to be listed over here, users without teams, and you just add them to that team. And then you can see who's in the team. You can edit the username of the team. You can do all kinds of stuff with that too. And then for your students, when they come into their portfolio, let me go back to that class, they'll have a new menu item here called Teams, where they can see the team rankings and they can see what are the aggregate holdings for that team. So that's a new powerful feature, and we're still working on some teacher tutorials to walk through that in a little bit more detail. Other stuff on here, edit profile. You can edit your username. You can change your email address or whatever else you want in here. Oh, this TeacherTube section. Does your school block YouTube videos at all? Oh, I see, Shanta, you no longer are on the line.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, my phone dropped, I guess. I just lost you for a second. I just called back in. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Okay, where did I lose you?
You were talking about the teams and how many students we can add to a team.
Okay.
And we can compare them. You know, no matter how many students are in the same team, it'll still adjust accordingly. And I lost you.
Yeah. So basically, when a student's in a team, they'll have this extra menu item where they can see their team portfolio and the team rankings, and they can see what everybody else in their team is holding. And with the team portfolio values, we just take the average value of all the team members. That way, again,
right.
Like I said, it doesn't matter how many. If it's unequal teams, it'll still work out.
Right.
This is, like I said, this is actually brand new. It actually hasn't even passed beta testing yet, so we're still working on that through the end of the year, but it's going to be available in the spring.
Okay.
Edit profile. Does your school block YouTube videos at all?
I know I can access them and show them to the students. I don't know. Andrew, do you know if you guys can get on YouTube from your sign-on? Or is YouTube blocked?
Yeah.
It's blocked? It's blocked.
Okay, if YouTube's blocked, all of your students have this edit profile page, and they can switch their video source to TeacherTube, which is basically a school-friendly version. Some of the videos that are embedded into the articles, they still won't be able to see, but all the tutorial videos and stuff we have hosted on that TeacherTube site. So there's a thing on the tutorial videos page too to let them know they can switch the video source. All your students can also edit their usernames. They can edit their email addresses anytime they want to. So that's pretty easy. Assignments we went through. Post a message. That's where you can post messages to your students. reports. Reports is basically where you can find all of the portfolio information about all of your students at any given time. So I'll go through each one of these in turn. The first one's called the summary report. This will list how many students are in your class, how many of them have made at least one trade, how many total trades have been placed in your class, and some basic stuff like the start dates and end dates. You can also get that registration link for your students again, so if you didn't copy it down the first time, you can always find it later. This next one is called the rank report. The rank report uses only data from yesterday, so this is not a live ranking, it's what it was at the end of the day yesterday. And again, it's going to list all the students in your class, their portfolio bet value, their Sharpe ratios, how many trades they've made, and the View More button will let you see their portfolios, their open positions, their transactions, their account balances, and all that stuff. Cash adjustment will also let you deposit or withdraw cash from any student's account at any given time, so you can give class participation bonuses, that kind of thing. Historical ranking. This is like the rankings page, except you can go back in time. So you just pick any day you want to see, and you enter the date, and it'll show you what the rankings were on that date, along with some other extra stuff like how much interest have they charged and earned, what's their cash balance, how much market value do they have, and stuff like that. Registration file. This is going to list all of the students in your class with their first name, last name that they entered at registration, their username and email address. You can use the edit button to change any student's username at any time too. So if a student forgets the username but they want to change it, you can do that from your panel. User accounts. User accounts is again just more data about what your students have been doing. So how many orders has this student placed? How many trades have they made, both this month and lifetime? When's the last time they logged in? When's the last time they traded? That kind of thing. This Reports tab will let you export your entire class data all at once to one spreadsheet. So the account statements report is a very large file, and that's going to have every student's open positions, all of their transactions, all of their account balances, one student after another. Historical portfolio values will show you every student's portfolio value for every day of the challenge. Trade notes, everything they've ever written, and you can get smaller pieces of these reports as well. The last one is top traded securities. This is pretty good for a class discussion piece. The top traded securities report basically lists the most commonly traded stocks in your class with how many of your students have traded this stock. So in this demo contest, Tesla was the most common. 8 of the participants traded Tesla. And Teams is the one we just talked about as well. You can find it here too. And when you as the teacher log in for the first time, you'll also be greeted with this, the admin dashboard. This was the first thing we saw at the beginning. I said we get back to it, and here we are. So the admin dashboard announcement, this will show you any current announcement you have posted, forum posts, what are the students saying in your class, top trade securities, that'll be the top 5 securities for your class. Let me see if I can get a more full set here. Yeah. In this class, I didn't have forums turned on, so forums are not part of this. Featured news, when we add new stuff to the platform, you're going to find it here first. So public portfolios, when we added cryptocurrencies, the admin dashboard that we just added, they all came in through the featured news. We also do email teachers, but sometimes teachers miss it, and you'll probably see it here first if you're managing your class actively. And get a little snapshot of class ranking and your class's current assignment progress. So we try to put the most important information right at your fingertips when you log in. I think that covers just about everything. So
Okay.
that was a lot to digest. But
So how do I get back to this instructor dashboard after I've been perusing around the site doing other stuff? Where's the button for that?
So you go to dashboard. The dashboard will take you to the student one, and then on the right here you can switch back to your admin dashboard.
So when I click dashboard, it will take me to my student dashboard?
It should take you to the admin dashboard. Just this week it's not doing that because we just added it. So I haven't asked the developers to switch yet. It will be taking you to your admin dashboard And then
Okay.
you can switch between the student and admin dashboard using the button at the side.
Oh,
of the page.
okay. Okay, I see. Cool.
And you can see, like at the student dashboard, they have some information about what the markets as a whole are doing. You know, what's the Dow Jones doing? What's the S&P 500 doing? You get more information about your class. How many registrations? How many trades? How many days are there until the end of the class? That kind of thing.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Any other questions for me?
No, that's perfect. Now I feel like I know what I'm doing.
All right, well, that's
Awesome.
I assume that you're probably going to have another question or two once you actually get started. Just let me know. I know the
Okay.
site backwards and forwards, so we'll get it solved right away.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you very much for your help.
All right, no problem. Have a good afternoon.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.